A quick heads up for folks, as we're waiting for people to join, I just launched the YouTube stream too, so I'm going to post that to Facebook.
Thank you. Okay, be right back.
Silas got me right before I even crossed the line. I'm talking to Silas. I didn't even hear you. I didn't even hear you.
All right.
And let me put this to our Facebook.
Bam. Okay, you got that one. What's the score so far? How many points do you have, Hank? I have one. You got two. I think you got 2 points. He's got 2 points. I know that. Silas, you got 1 point. Ian, how many points do you have?
Oh, hi, Miss Kira. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
Okay, this is a mic check for folks that just joined. Hi, Miss Kira. Long time no see.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
I love your background too.
Great. Yeah. Well, it's better than my dining room walls. Silas is doing a Zoom karate class right now. Otherwise, I'd call him over to say hi.
I know. I was like, I think I hear Silas in the background. Please tell him I say hi.
Yeah, he's saying right now. He's saying hiya. He's really good at the hayas.
That's awesome. I can see him being very good at that.
And let's see, we've got folks joining. It's 5:33, so it's 3 after. So we'll wait a while. But I thought I'd just let folks know that the teachers in particular, since this might be your first PTO meeting with us in a while, we stream this to YouTube, and that turns into an on-demand recording simultaneously to the meeting, so that people can watch it, and then, or if they missed it, they could see the recording. Plus, of course, people are joining via Zoom through our Facebook event. So there's just a few different ways this is getting out, and primarily this is my way of asking you folks: is it okay if you're recorded right now?
Ain't got that one.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Do we want to wait a few more minutes to get started? Or we feel good about starting now? Start now? Okay.
Just a quick thing I can probably do is, last time we grabbed a couple of extra parents by putting out a last minute Facebook link. I wonder if we might be able to do that again.
I did a Facebook post with the YouTube link and then pointing out the Zoom. So we'll see if people jump in that way.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's just get started by introductions. We have some teachers here tonight, so thank you so much for coming. So we'll introduce ourselves for everyone here and for the people on the web stream. I'm Mandy. I am the co-president along with the illustrious Nicole, who I don't see here, but maybe she'll join us in a little bit. So hi, thanks so much for coming tonight.
I'll go next since on my screen I'm second here. I'm Vipal. I'm this year's communications person, and I've got a first grader at the school this year. Formerly with Miss Kira's class. Every once in a while, he still submits assignments on Seesaw and says, "Hi, Miss Kira. Today I'm doing 5 + 5 or whatever."
I forgot about my kids. Oh my gosh, awkward.
Hey all, I'm Eduardo, parent of Felix, who's in 3rd grade now already with Miss Kennard, and then Lucia, who's in high 5 with Miss Allie.
Hi, I'm Miss Dibble. I'm one of the kindergarten teachers. My other name is Sam or Samantha, whichever rolls off your tongue easier. Um, Happy to be here.
I'm Jason. I'm the treasurer. I'm a parent of Sven and Edie, husband of Mandy.
Hi, my name's Emily Terrell. I have a kindergartner, Booker, in Miss Marquardt's class. And I'm going to have my video off because I'm making dinner and y'all don't need to watch all that, but happy to be here.
Hi, I am Alicia, and my kiddos are in my name. I'm just noticing that now. So I've got Sebastian, who's a third grader in Miss Melson's class, and Amelia, who's a kindergarten with Miss Dibble. And I'm also on notes today for Sarah, just FYI, PTO.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Diego DePaz, and I'm the principal at Bancroft. So good to see everyone here tonight. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Kira Christofferson, also known as Miss Kira by kindergartners and kids at school. So excited to be here, and thanks for joining tonight.
I'm Christine Kennard. I teach third grade.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Mahovsky, and I teach fourth grade.
Hi, I'm Linda Doro, the family liaison.
All right, did we get everybody?
I could go next. I'm Lauren Lewis. This is Lena. She's in Marquardt's class, and she just said, "Oh, it's Miss Dibble and Miss Kira." So she wanted to say hi.
I'm Tana. I have a first grader in Mr. Coffee's class.
Awesome. I think that was everyone. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the educators who are going to share with us today. We're really excited about that. And I do want to be mindful of your time. So we have a little bit of regular business to get through, but then we'll hopefully get to your part. So if you need to, you can log off after. I'm going to start screen sharing now, just so we have a little bit of background. If I can figure out how to do it. I don't think so. Okay. Okay, so we have just some quick updates. So, sorry, it's really echoing. I'm gonna close the door. It's super echoey. We have two people doing Zoom in the same house, so. We have a new start time for Bancroft. So starting in 2021, 2022, our new start time is going to be 9:10 to 3:40. So as we get into the online school request season, that's something to be mindful of if you're requesting Bancroft or if you are requesting other options, because the other schools, a large percent of them have changed this year. So just keep that in mind if you are going into the school request process. Coffee, tea, and IB, that's going to be 8 o'clock a.m. Friday, December 4th. And Diego, I believe we are talking a little bit more about Bancroft's IB status next year and the school request process. So if we run out of time in this meeting, I'm imagining that we will get more time to talk about that. And then December 5th, Saturday from 10 to 12:30, Minneapolis Public Schools is hosting a virtual school request kickoff. So that's going to be an event where they talk about the school request process this year, some of the new things that they're doing, and it is going to be recorded. So if you're not able to attend or watch the whole thing, you'll be able to watch that that is going to be on a link on the homepage of the Minneapolis Public Schools website. Right now, it's a big blue informational banner that you can click on. So it will be there. And then last meeting is the next PTO meeting, which is in only 2 weeks because we're trying to get it in before we go for break. So that'll be 5:30 to 7 again on Monday, December 14th.
Can I just reiterate what you said, Mandy, about
Yes.
Coffee and IB? And so thank you for
Yes,
advertising
please.
that. And so Linda will do a robocall, another email blast about that for Friday. But yeah, we will talk about IB. We'll talk about, we also have differentiation on our agenda for that morning, as well, obviously, as the CDD transition letters and enrollment process. That was basically kicked off, yesterday and today by families receiving the robocalls and emails from the district. And so I know there's a number of questions that we fielded today just in our office. And so we'll try to do our best to answer any questions that come up there during Coffee, Tea, and IB.
Awesome. Thank you so much for adding that.
Yep.
All right. So Nicole's not here. So I will talk a little bit about the fundraiser, Spiritwear fundraiser that she got off the ground. This shirt this year is designed by our IB ambassadors. And it is available to order. There's a link on the Bancroft homepage. So it's $20 per shirt. I did the math for how much Bancroft gets per shirt, but I forgot. But something like $3, $4, I think. So it's starting to add up already. I think we're at over 100. But they're really cute. The students did a great job. So if you're interested, you can order those for your kids, holiday gifts. Does anyone have questions about Spiritwear? I believe this is our only option this year too, if anyone can confirm.
Yeah, I spoke briefly with Nicole about, because there was talk about like a blue long sleeve option, and I'm not sure. We ended up going with simpler is better. So
awesome. I love it though. All right. The other thing that we are trying to bring back is box tops for education. It's something that I think has been relatively successful in the past, and we're trying to get people excited about it again. It's app-based now, so there's very little box tops cutting anymore. What you do is you download a smartphone app, and then you scan your receipts, and the app just automatically tells what you've bought that's eligible and gives money to Bancroft. If there are still box tops that are for cutting out, those can be dropped off in the office still. But I think that it's a really great way for us to support Bancroft without really changing any of our behaviors. And you can even get, grandparents, family, friends to download the app and, scan their receipts and donate that money to Bancroft. So it's an easy way that people don't really have to do anything extra. Yeah, anyone have any questions about that process? We're just rolling it out again. But so far, people are scanning. All right, awesome. All right, Jason, do you want to talk about the funding requests that we have?
Sorry. No. Yes, I guess.
Oh,
there
sorry,
was.
I'm not supposed to be there.
What's that?
I just messed up the thing. It's from Miss Sue about the Challenge Reading Book Club.
Yeah. So there was a request to previously to cover some books for the Challenge Reading Book Club, and that's sort of a recurring expense of the balance of the school year. In other non-distance learning years, the books are usually sourced from the school library or public libraries or other places. This year, due to COVID, they've been wanting to purchase the books for the children, participating in that reading book club, and there's a request put forth, and I apologize since Mandy and I've switched computers. I can't remember the exact amount that was requested, but wanted to get feedback from the group on approving that amount. I feel like it was a few $100 for the balance of the year, if I remember correctly.
So, do we just need a motion to approve, or?
Yeah,
I think so.
All right, so I put a motion on the floor, or give a thumbs up if folks are. I'll go to gallery view here. We could just do a quick thumbs up for folks that want to give a thumbs up. If we're going to stick with the old school, we've also got the reactions. Looks like Megan's found that. There's a thumbs up in reactions. So let's just put it to a vote if folks would like to support. Thumbs up.
And it sounds like this will be a recurring request for the, like, as a budget item for this year.
well, that was the total amount for the balance of the year. So I'll write it into the budget, which I'll deliver an update on next call in 2 weeks.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so Paul, can I turn it over to you to introduce our educators and just a little bit about what this discussion and listening session is about?
Sure. So at our last PTO meeting, it happened to coincide with a slew of work to rule emails from our faculty to parents, and so it became an agenda item simply for us to sort of ask what does that mean. Particularly the one I had received was about fewer assignments or shorter assignments, slower parent feedback. And so we just had a quick discussion and we made an action item. Can we reach out to our faculty, to our teachers, to ask what is work to rule, and what was the reason that MFT called for the action, and as we understood it, it was related to COVID preparedness plans by the district. And of course, that was, I guess, 30 days ago or 4 weeks ago now. And things have changed in a way that there have been some developments. One of them that was just announced last week was the inclusion of a possible flex schedule day in the school schedule, although it's up to the schools themselves to implement. It's as it was announced, MFT and the district agreed upon some verbiage, put out a memorandum of understanding, and then it's up to the school principals to determine whether or not that's going to make it into our schedules. So that sort of caused us to think, well, let's make today's discussion less about the work to rule part of it, although that certainly is an element that inspired the discussion, and more about what are the teachers' experiences doing the distance learning. How can we as parents understand what the teachers are having to do in terms of workload, or just in terms of there are a lot of things that are unsaid but understood, and I think that has a lot of assumptions out there. One of the biggest assumptions, obviously, is that teachers do a lot of work unpaid or off hours or out of their checkbook, and we certainly understand that, and I think we can accept that as a given fact. But as it sort of linked to this COVID preparedness and this work to rule, we wanted to sort of hear, well, what is this new normal that teachers are facing? And after hearing from our teachers, then that gives our parents an ability to have information to then take action as they see fit, whether they wanted to become part of the MFT effort, whether they wanted to reach out to their own individual teacher, or whether they just needed an understanding of what that email was. So that's kind of just couching what this is. And so we have a number of instructors here today of faculty. I think some of us reached out, and so we are very honored for this. I know for me, it was, I reached out through my son's teacher and linked with Melissa and Christine, who, as I understand it, are, in addition to being teachers at the school, they are union stewards. So that's an additional, not role necessarily, but there's probably some additional information there because of that. And then we see Miss Kira is here and Miss Dibble is here. Folks reached out to them. So I invite teachers to take the floor. Who would like to go first? Truly, the question is, what is the new normal that that parents, that we should be understanding in terms of the workload or the expectations, or just how can we be supportive? And then if you would like to link that to work to rule or this flex schedule or any of those actions, that's certainly a welcome thing, because that allows us to sort of connect some of the dots. Thank you. I'll go mute now.
I can start if that's okay, everyone. Thank you, every parent, for being here, and it's great to see my fellow teachers here too. I think a few things to address Vipal's point. First of all, we have to remember that even whatever's happening at Bancroft, that MPS is a school community, and we as union teachers are not working just for our MPS or our Bancroft families and students, although we're working really hard for all of you. We are also looking out for all of the kids in the community and all of the students and staff at MPS. So part of our action was about that asynchronous work day. There were three elements to it. One was about having asynchronous time, more flex time, as you said, Vipal, in order to have the time in our day to make those family and individual student connections that I can't speak for the other teachers, but I know that I'm struggling to find time for that in my workday. I'm having so much fun in live meetings, and I love seeing students seesaw work. Planning takes a lot more time in this format because lessons have to be pre-taped that we normally teach live. So I'm not having those moments, and we don't have those small moments to work one-on-one and connect with children. So having extra space in our schedule to do that was one of our goals. The second was really addressing some concerns around the emergency childcare that's been happening in MPS. And although that's not staffed by teachers, that's staffed by our ESPs, the unions are working together. We are all here for Minneapolis families and kids. And we had seen over time the conditions that were happening in Minneapolis kids. The ratios had changed. They had increased the ratios the district had of children to adults. In spring, when distance learning began and emergency childcare opened, there was hazard pay for the ESPs, and then that hazard pay was taken away in summer and not offered again. So bargaining for more fair conditions for our ESPs who are staffing childcare was another big pillar of this action we were taking. And we got great news today that another MOA was signed between the ESP union and the district that's going to reduce ratios and institute hazard pay. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Kennard. So that was the other pillar. And then the third was just asking that the district includes in a real way on the ground teachers in their planning for a safe return to school, which up to this point, any inclusion of our union president or union staff or teachers was in more of an informational position from the district presenting information to our union, but not collaborative. And we want to work collaboratively with the district in ensuring a safe return to school for students, for staff. So that piece is still being worked on, but the gains we made in getting flex time and especially getting better conditions for our ESPs and emergency childcare, we have stopped doing the work to rule action. But we are going to still continue to work for the things that we feel like are going to benefit students and families and staff as human beings in this district who all need to work together. So that's kind of the big picture union piece. I can let my fabulous colleagues talk a little more about their personal workday, and we're open to questions too if anyone has questions, of course.
Thank you for that. To sort of prod along and not have the awkward silence that is Zoom. Anyway, so why don't we just take that cue from Melissa and link it to the flexible schedule thing has happened. You sort of mentioned a little bit about why you found that was important. I think it'd be great for parents to understand what that means. Certainly, from my point of view of the synchronous meetings, which Silas has been loving, and then the assignments and video, the asynchronous assignments, which I have a keen understanding of how they're produced. I think I still need to know what the workday looks like and how this flex day is helpful.
I can speak a little bit to that. I'll defer to Mr. DePaz because I know ILT is meeting in the morning to flesh out some of the details for the asynchronous day. But just from the teacher perspective, I think that we're hoping to, I think, still continue that morning meeting, even on the asynchronous day, just to check in with your kids and touch base and get them started for their day. And then there will be some opportunities, I think, for teachers to meet more with families and students one-on-one, because currently, right now, a lot of those questions and help and supports that some families need are either happening during the school day, and then we're forced to do our other things before or after the regular school day, or it's reversed and we're calling parents at like 7 o'clock at night and they would like to eat dinner with their families uninterrupted as would we. So just trying to sort of have that day there. The supports that we've been providing that I think are not typical teacher supports. I think the biggest one is probably tech support for a lot of families. And that's one of the things that I don't think we necessarily knew we were signing up for when we all became teachers. And then just touching base, some families need an in-person visit and need support or need help just working through some things. So we've got a lot of teachers who've been driving with either school supplies or support to individual families just to help them through this situation. And even I know we're really lucky at Bancroft. We've had tremendous support from our admin, both Brianna and Diego, but not every school has that. So like Melissa said, even though we take some of these actions, it might not be reflective of all of Bancroft's experiences, but it's for the greater community. So hopefully I answered your question.
No, that was great. No, thank you very much. As a quick follow-up, and I'm certainly welcome to any of the other parents jumping in, but I like to hear myself talk, so here we go. Is it fair to say that since going distance, the effort to teach has increased? It wasn't a parity, a one-to-one kind of transference of in-class learning versus creating the video that you know that then becomes the asynchronous learning. Is there a way anyone that sort of could describe what that transference was like?
Sure, I'm happy to jump into that because it has been a really interesting progression too. I think as we all have seen too, families and teachers, that this has been a learning curve of technology. So I would have to say, from my personal experience, in the spring and even at the beginning of this year, adopting new technology takes a lot of time. So I was going way past, the duty day of trying to create lessons and have it be a very an enjoyable, engaging experience. And I think that as we are becoming more familiar and even looking at more engaging technology, right? How can we really make distance learning the best possible experience that we can for families? It is a constant learning and growth. We have an awesome Bancroft staff where we've been sharing ideas and working with teams to really kind of create equitable and, having a balance of work that we share and create with each other. So things are getting, I wouldn't necessarily say easier. It's definitely just like the learning curve of technology, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I think now with this, the movement of the work to rule, it really was, I'll speak for myself, it was putting things into perspective of how much work and effort I was putting into distance learning. So it's just kind of a, I was willing to do it because we're all trying to figure this out together. And I think we're hopeful for the future for us to come back together in community. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that was just my personal take on it.
No, that was great. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
I was just going to piggyback on that and just say all the lessons that you're seeing are ways that we're trying to create what would have been an in-person experience virtually, which sounds not as difficult as it is. Just even thinking about like our math curriculum and how it's very hands-on and we ask the kids to manipulate pieces. So I know in kindergarten, I don't see the lessons for the other grades. We're like screenshotting individual counters and creating a lesson in Seesaw and duplicating things and blocking them in place. So all of the creation of just the flip charts and the activities that the kids complete is something that we just didn't have to do in the past because we'd hand them their little baggie with their supplies and they'd go sit and start working, or just having conversations with ourselves on camera, which is super awkward, trying to have math talk without any children present. So just all those experiences that we're trying to foster some sort of hands-on learning, even though it's not hands-on. It takes a while. Sometimes it's hard for us to wrap our brains around how to create those experiences.
I can add, and my colleagues have had many of the same thoughts that I have had. And last spring in third grade, we did a lot more video recorded lessons, and they were amazingly time intensive in that you would record the video and then go back and get the captioning, make sure the captioning didn't change the number 6 into sex, which did happen once or twice. So there were some things like that. You want to catch those things before you ever share them with children. So that took a lot of time. But now we have a lot more time where we are teaching live, which is great. And I love it. But to teach live in this way, we have to break things down into smaller and smaller pieces than, so what we might teach in the classroom on a given day, we might do half of that because we need to be able to check in and figuring out how am I going to see what they're doing. And it seems nearly every week there's new technology and new ways of incorporating, letting me see what they're working on and how they're thinking, but I have to learn it and figure out how can I make that happen, and what's going to work for kids. And so it's just, the learning curve is always huge. And I'm always like, I want to kind of look at their work right after I teach it to them, which sort of works. And then sometimes I just like get overwhelmed because, well, I didn't get to this assignment. So now I have all of this stuff sort of piling up and I have to pick and choose. And so having some time to be reflective on work and getting feedback to kids. And the other piece is that in regular school, we meet once a week and we plan and we kind of know what we're going to do. My team, we meet every day, like twice a day, and we kind of check in, and then we're planning for the next week and parceling out who's going to do which pieces of work to get those assignments in so that kids have a way to respond. And so there's just a lot more, it's smaller pieces and a lot more prep to make it happen. So a long answer for a short, a lot more work for.
So then there's just one more thing that I want to address that I don't think my colleagues have yet, which is a really hidden piece of what we're doing right now. So all of you are here. My assumption is your kids are probably logged into all of their meetings, doing their Seesaw work. I have a first grader, I know how it is as much as you can. But we have a big percentage of kids at Bancroft that are struggling with distance learning. And it may be some of your kids too. I shouldn't make any assumptions. So in regular school, in the before times, kids were mostly at school and we had them there and we could work with them. We all spend a lot of time reaching out to individual families and kids. And I know our staff is really working hard to do that. beyond just classroom teachers. But that's a huge component of our jobs now that wasn't as apparent, and it definitely wasn't as time consuming when we're meeting in person. So that's another big thing that I think having flex time will help with, is really trying to connect with those kiddos and those families that need more support with coming to school in this way. That's one thing that I just wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I had a little bit of question kind of about that, which is that how do you all feel as teachers in terms of like the requirements that are put on you by, I guess, the district, or like the curriculum that you're supposed to cover, versus what you kind of are feeling now and know better in terms of where kids are at and how they deal with this way of learning? Because even potentially kids that may have done well at school may not be doing well with the remote learning, or so what I mean. So in terms of that aspect of flexibility of feeling like you can be flexible in addressing individual kids or issues versus what you're supposed to stick to as a schedule or goals for requirements or even testing. How does that feel?
That's a great question. I can speak briefly to that. Again, to my experience, and I'm not on any other teams or in any grade levels, but we're, again, at Bancroft, I feel like with our administration, with Diego and Brianna, they've been so supportive and so flexible with us. In fourth grade, we are taking things very slow. We are doing a lot of debating about what are the core concepts, what do we really want to make sure students learn, because we are finding that things take longer than they would have traditionally taken. And I have gotten personally no pushback. I felt no concerns. When it comes to testing, we'll see. Diego, I don't know if you can speak to that, but I know for me, and as building rep, from what I've heard from talking to other people, we've felt very supported as professionals to make those decisions for our students.
Just to add, not to just to always play both sides of it. There are some kids that are thriving in online learning too, but we still need to meet their needs, because maybe they're like, hey, I got this, but we got to give them more. And this will hopefully allow us to meet the needs of those students as well, because we know that for everyone learns differently and everyone excels differently, and we're all capable of doing amazing things, and we all just don't get there the same way. So just meeting the needs of all learners, I think really hopefully will be something we can accomplish with this little bit of flex time.
And
I was just going to piggyback off that too, Sam. The same kind of thing. Like, and for me, it might be the same kid that one week really needs a little more hand holding, and the next week it's kind of going really well for them. And so it's really take each child where they're at. And sometimes they need more support. Sometimes they need less. Sometimes they need a challenge. Sometimes a little hand holding. And so it just depends on the kid, depends on the family. It depends, on each individual. So there's definitely a range.
And I would also piggyback with what has been said, is that we're really seeing there's always been differentiation. And I think that's a huge priority as teachers, is to really be able to differentiate with curriculum. In kindergarten, I felt like we are actually able to move along with the curriculum, and it's going well academically. The greatest concerns that I have are really being able to meet the needs if students are unable to access, or just having really like tailored support for families and students. And then also my concern is, having that social interaction piece for students to be connecting with each other. So really trying to create those engagements, because in you learn everything you need to know in kindergarten, right? So it's a lot about those interactions and how to be with each other. And I think we're all trying to figure that out in this virtual age, right? How do we be online with each other? But I think this time just to plan and to creatively move towards differentiation that really engages and can effectively work with students and families.
That's all great to hear, and I would really like for you all to be able to let us know as the year goes on how that feels, especially with the district. And I appreciate, I think we all appreciate Diego's leadership and support of teachers so that you all can do what you need to do and not have flexibility. And if we need to, or if there's a need for us parents to help advocate for you all to keep doing that, and for Diego to keep doing that. Appreciate that.
So I think this has been a great this is a great discussion. Thank you very much for all the sharing that's going on. I wanted to try to put a couple of things into little packets that could be discussion pieces. I imagine we all have takeaways individually from what we've just learned and listened to. One of the things that's my takeaway, it's interesting, the notion that it takes a little more time to teach the same content over distance than it does in person. So in other words, from a teaching aspect, where things are having to slow down, from a parental aspect, I only have the one. So my wife and I outnumber him so far. So we're very lucky. I feel for the people that have the three that are outnumbered, right? So, but it's a horse race for us to keep him up to date with his assignments. So for us, we feel like we're making our way through the doubles +1, and we're making our ways through the plus 10s and the minus 10s, and this is going way too fast. So it's interesting that there's obviously perspective matters, because from your end, putting out the work is slower, and from our end, taking in the work seems to be light speed. And so I'm raising that mostly. My hope is that other parents find ways of connecting with their teachers about this, because I think this is really important for people to sort of understand. Because from my point of view, I thought we were still hitting, for example, all the milestones we're supposed to hit in time. I didn't really think we were going slowly. So that's interesting. So I can imagine what real time would be, because that would just be even double light speed. But then the other thing is that as a takeaway is, I work at the University of Minnesota, so I have a different perspective on this. Distance learning is hand in glove over there, and there are resources available to teachers that are new, to faculty that are new to distance learning, where they could, for the most part, just take their lessons and put it into a template that's already been vetted, and there are metrics for it, and they understand the advantages of one template over the other. I'm getting the sense that here at MPS level, it's the wheel is being reinvented, or is there not a district level kind of support for teachers who are creating these things? So that's kind of a general question, I think, that is a takeaway from this. It seems that there maybe isn't a staff who's dedicated solely to helping teachers create distance learning templates or guide them through how to best reach a fourth grader versus a first grader through proven, tried methods, not necessarily just figuring out what the newest feature in Seesaw was with a 5.1 update. So I think, and then third, where I'm going with it, when I'm hoping this spawns, is this: from PTO, we were hoping to inspire a groundswell of people coming together to help each other out. That was the whole intention behind the phone directory. Again, speaking from personal experience, we are privileged to have had our kindergarten classmates and parents into a little pod that Silas has been able to do play dates and that kind of thing, and do some tech help and some lessons helping. That we hoped, so the idea was, well, if we sort of open up the tools to the whole school, people will just sort of figure it out on their own without having to be a top-down kind of like everyone find help. Clearly, that's not the case. We've gone through an entire quarter here, and that really hasn't happened. And it sounds like, from the teacher's point of view, you've already identified families that are in need of extra assistance, whether it's tech help or extra teaching help or just help with some childcare. So what I'd like to put forward to PTO, and this is really the more important thing of what I was saying, or what I'm sharing here, is how can we sort of help shoulder some of that? Take the information, take the knowledge that you teachers already have, that you know about the families. How can we, without breaking any FERPA laws, assist you in getting tech help to a parent who's always losing their iPad connection, a district iPad connection, or getting teaching help to a student who might benefit from podding up with a pod that already exists? Like, I mean, how do we get that back and forth information? Because obviously you've already made identifications. On our end, I imagine there are other parents that are doing better with this distance learning and might have the ability to share. So that's kind of, those are the three takeaways I would say, and I hope for PTO maybe we could take action on that third, or find a way of sharing the info back and forth.
Can I I'm taking notes, so I just want to make sure I'm phrasing your question. It was a long one, B. Paul. But what I heard you say is maybe how can PTO leverage our support to ensure families are able to bridge that sort of gap of support that teachers are seeing. And so it sounds like that's just maybe one of your key takeaways, sort of an open question back out for us to think through. And I would say, I would echo that. And then also, if teachers have ideas they could bring to PTO, we're definitely looking to find ways to support in whatever way we can.
That's absolutely it. I think literally, this is open invite. You know, at the fourth grade level, that there are some supports that could be helped at. How can we shoulder some of that, or help some of that, or guide some of that along? How can we leverage the phone book? Maybe in first grade they tried creating it's their own directory for just first graders, but in my conversations with my son's instructor, it didn't really take off very well. So it wasn't successful. So yeah, I mean, we're going into a long break, and I know we are at 6:20, so we've got some other business to attend to. So what I'd really like to get hope for is maybe we can build an action item that Mandy and the rest of the officers we could discuss on the 14th, and then post break come back and have something that we could roll out with teachers that are interested. Miss Kira, Miss Melissa, Miss Christine, Miss Dibble. I don't know why you're not Miss Samantha, but I'll go with Miss Dibble. Let's make a connection happen post break, so that we come into January with something that'll maybe ease some of your workload. That, as you said at the outset, it's not necessarily what you didn't sign up to be tech support. So maybe one of us moms or dads that are tech savvy can be the tech support for fourth grade or for first grade. And I totally get it too. I've tried to lean on the district's tech support. I'm not that happy with it. So I totally get why the answer, just send them to the district, is not the answer. Totally get it.
I think we're parents and teachers, we're the ones who use this software, and this, not software, apps would be the most frequently. So we are the experts more than the districts. So I think that's a really good action item, personally, just to brainstorm for your next meeting.
And I have experience where families are super helpful with each other. So even like on a live meetup and someone is having an issue, because they have the same device, they can troubleshoot and share something. So I think families connecting is a great idea.
Well, to just sort of move us along then, considering that you four teachers are here, how do you feel that you continue to be contacts with PTO? We send you emails about perhaps once PTO sort of figures out where its footing is, we could reach out to you, and you could reach out to your colleagues and figure out where we could make some pairings, some small scale pairings, perhaps even, particularly in the grades that might need it. How does that sound for folks on PTO?
I think that's great.
I just wanted to bring up something, and it's minor, but I guess maybe is not so minor. We had talked about postage for teachers to send certificates and things home, and I'm not sure where that ended up.
Oh, I think Nicole was talking about taking that on.
Yeah, we got postage. Miss Ramgren, second grade team, got their postage from Nicole. It came in the mail, ironically. So they got their stamps.
No, but we talked about expanding that, making it available to everybody, but trying to figure out a way to do that equitably, or I guess I don't know, but because they're, second grade's not the only ones sending things home.
Right. Yeah. I think the only hang up, or not hang up necessarily, but the only thing that really hadn't gotten fleshed out is how to do an audit on it, or like how to measure what's being used as it's being used up, and then having to either increase or decrease the following month's dispense, for example. So how that would occur, is the one thing that hadn't been discussed. And I think we could certainly make that, Mandy, how do you feel about that becoming also a December 14 action item that we could roll out post-January?
Yeah.
What's possible. I mean, we could even just get our own meter. I don't really know how difficult that is, but I've been in other groups where we've had our own meter.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but if we know every grade level is mailing things, then we could just start by like providing a blanket amount to each grade, and then just when it's gone, like just kind of reassess.
I mean, how does that sound to the teachers who are here? Because we haven't checked in with you guys, and I'm not sure how much you guys are mailing, but if it's available, I think you'll make use of it.
And is it mostly letters that's just using regular postage, or are people needing like package postage? Like what kind of things are being mailed?
So I can tell you that third grade, I don't think has mailed anything, but we have been trying to get, so if kids have certificates that they earn, that we mostly we just email them to them so they sort of have them, but it would be kind of fun to be able to put that in USPS and have it get there and be like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's something Linda and Mandy and the rest of PTO folks, you can reach out to myself as well too, because we do have postage as a line item in our own school budget. And so I know that we've been mailing out the attendance certificates and those pieces for kids after our student support meetings, and to staff as well. So it's definitely something that if it's not like a large scale thing, like we can definitely talk about it. And then MPS, we also have the mailing, like our own mailing center where they do the postage. So if you have a package or something, we put it in the interdistrict mail box that's outside our mailboxes, and the interdistrict guy comes in and takes it, and we get charged back to our budget line. So it's definitely a conversation that we can continue to have. I don't want necessarily PTO needing to foot the bill for all of our postage, since we have some already in our budget to pay for.
Yeah, but I think we do have some extra money to help support distance learning expenses. So if we have increased postage needs, that feels like a really great place to put it.
Yeah, why don't we take the second grade model as a basis then, and see how that sort of fits across the grades? Like we just use what their intended use item is, so it's mostly just regular first class stamps, and they have a specific amount per month. And then we can see how that goes. And then we just figure out Jason, I suppose, can figure out a way of doing the track/audit. And anything beyond that, becomes can certainly be pushed onto that interdistrict thing or the school's own line item. But having said that, Mandy, if it's all right with you, I think Sarah, did you have something?
Can I also say something before we change subjects? Because I just want to say that Bancroft will have a flexible learning day, and we're going to call it a flexible learning day, not asynchronous, because there will still be live opportunities. And so the reason families have not gotten communication around this is because we have not had a chance as a staff to really fully talk about what it's going to look like and what it's going to be implemented like at Bancroft. Truth be told, we got the communication late Tuesday afternoon, right before the Thanksgiving break or the time away from school. And so we have not had a chance as a staff to really fully think it through. But Bancroft will have a flexible learning day. One of the non-negotiables that I did share with staff is that we will start the morning with a morning meeting, just like we always do at 9 o'clock, just to set the expectations for the day, just kind of, set it up for success. There will be opportunities, I think, like Ms. Mahovsky said earlier, for one-on-one meetings, maybe some small groups, some connecting with families. checking in on kids that might need that extra support. And I think it's also, to me, it's a great opportunity. And I think we saw a brief preview of what these days could be like this past Monday and Tuesday when we had our Bancroft planning days. And I'll speak for myself. I don't want to speak for the staff, but I thought it was a great day to really work on some adaptive changes, reflect on our practices, and really inform our instruction to make sure that our student outcomes and student experiences are the best they can be. And so I thought those Monday and Tuesday last week were fantastic days, and I look forward to not replicating, but having something similar to that model as our flexible learning day. So, we have an ILT meeting tomorrow morning, and then I'm probably going to call another staff meeting this week just to put out what all the details are, and then I already have a communication, a framework of a communication for families to send out as an email and robocall. But Bancroft will have a flexible learning day. And like I said, it'll have some live opportunities. It'll also be a chance, VPAL, to catch up on some work, some enrichment opportunities, maybe some possible off-screen things that a lot of families have been asking for. I know 5th grade has talked about potentially some project-based learning opportunities. So it's really a lot of the stuff that we've reflected on as a staff to try now and put into practice. And so I think the slow part to me has been a lot of the technical changes or technical challenges of like, how do I get this into Seesaw, or how do I turn this assignment into a PDF, which takes up, the creativity time and the adaptive changes that our staff does so well. And so I think this will be a great opportunity for us to really do better for us as a staff, to have that time, which everyone's asking for, and then to do better for our kids. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us.
That's awesome. But Vipal, is it still a good time for me to make the last comment on this topic? Just while we were talking about both postage and the directory, and while we have some teachers on, it occurred to me, if there were a way that it made sense in any of the grade level planning to have some kind of assignment where kids wrote to each other. And I don't know if that's like risky because, they'll write something bad. I don't know, but it's an assignment and they would show it once they got the letter or something. That I think that's something, if you needed money for it, that I would suggest to the PTO that we could pay for that postage if it's not already covered in curriculum, which maybe it is. But I know I've been looking for opportunities to get my kid to use her hands to write again, and she loves getting things in the mail, and I've been trying to find ways for her to connect with other students, which is hard. And so if that were like leveraged, that it would have to be optional, but that would encourage more parents to actually allow their addresses to be shared. That could kind of hit a lot of different issues that we've been addressing. So just an idea, and thank you all of you so much. You're all doing such an amazing job.
I just had 2 quick questions. On those flexible days, will they still have their specialists and their live specialists?
So that's part of what we need to really talk about and think about. But at this point, the answer would be yes.
Okay. And I guess my other question is, so last Monday and Tuesday, from the parent perspective, how did that go for you guys?
Fine.
I feel like it's so dependent maybe on your kid's personality. I have a pretty active kid, and I'm working from home, and I have a 3-year-old, so sometimes a little bit of a break here and there with a live meeting is kind of a relief, but it's just one kid.
It was okay for us. I really appreciate the not calling it asynchronous. I think that was actually a little misleading, and still having the morning meeting would be really helpful. I think that would help it be manageable.
I think, what Diego sort of said, setting up the expectations for success or whatever it was a pretty good quote. I know it's in the recording, Diego. But having the structure or losing the structure, I think was the most impactful in our household. And so I'm glad that the morning meeting might still be part of it, because then at least there's a check-in and as what I'm discovering, the whole notion of you're not my teacher, Dad. That's not what my teacher said. So I'm discovering that. So it's great for the teacher to also still be saying stuff.
think I have this is Emily. I think I have a little different perspective because my kindergartner's in daycare the first 3 days of the week. And so we have him home.
Sorry about that. It looks like we experienced our first Zoom bomb.
I know, that was exciting.
And I've locked the meeting so no one else can get in at this point. I've removed people. There's somebody in here who I don't recognize, so sorry about this, but I'm removing you now. And that was interesting. Yeah, so I'm sure I know where that was. That was we posted our Facebook link to that one event, and the event is public, but we haven't posted it since, but someone clearly found it. So there we are. We just got Zoom bombed. But we're good. We're good. We just needed to start muting folks. Anyway, who was that was talking?
That was Emily, and that was very exciting. Out of all of these months, I've never experienced that. So thanks for something else for COVID bingo. So I think the perspective is a little different for us in terms of the flexible learning or the asynchronous day, just because our kindergartner's in daycare 3 days a week. And so we're doing a lot of catching up either in the evenings or Thursday, Friday when we have him home, and we're doing what we can, doing all the lives with the specialists, but having a day where it didn't feel like he was missing so much. And it didn't feel like there was just the day of catch up where I don't feel like he's missing things. Would be nice in terms of the live, but so that didn't change anything for us on those Monday and Tuesday because he was at daycare and we did exactly what we would have done on a normal day. But I also know he's on the younger end and we're probably in a different situation. So the asynchronous days are nice because it just kind of takes the heat off. It turns the pressure down a little bit.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone, for it. This was a great conversation. We're at 6:34, so I know we burned through probably 45 minutes there of some pretty important talk, and I appreciate everyone sharing. I think we sort of from a PTO standpoint, and Mandy, please correct me if I'm wrong, or anyone else in PTO. Our sort of action item on this is to use the December 14 meeting to discuss how we can, over the break, make connections or help make connections with the teachers to either relieve some of that tech support issue or helping families get together a little what do you call it? Lubricate the wheel or whatever it is they say. Grease the wheel. Just make it easier for people to connect. So that's where we're at. Thanks very much. And the other thing is, I guess work to rule is not really a thing at this point. So it's just carry on as we have been, right? I mean, in terms of parents interacting with teachers, we still send our emails and we still get the students still get their assignments. We're just rolling along. Got it. That's great to hear. Congratulations. I'm glad the effort was successful without having to be majorly disruptive. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it all so much. I know this is not how you expected to be teaching this year, and we can see how much effort it takes. I've been so impressed with just how well the teachers' personalities come through in their assignments, how well the IB curriculum is being represented. I'm really impressed with the quality of the assignments and just the quality of the communication that's happening. So thank you so much. I know that takes a massive amount of work to do. So it's been amazing. Thank you. All right. So I think that concludes this portion. All of our educators, you're welcome to sign off if you want to go do other things. Thank you for being here. We're going to move on to talking about the upcoming online school request period. So I think I'll start screen sharing to do that. in
Thank you
just
so
a
much.
second.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, V. Paul, just a heads up, Julie Graves was on the call and I'm just texting her to see if she wanted to pop back in. She was trying to come back in. But it's Julie Graves, J-U Graves. I don't know if you see her in waiting room. She said she can't get back in because it's locked, but she says
Yeah.
that.
So could you just text her? I've unlocked the room but enabled waiting room now, so I'll watch her in waiting room.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've got somebody here called Yo sé el que envió el link in waiting room.
That's the right one.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. What are we at? We're at school choice.
Okay.
Right.
Let's see. All right. So school requests will be starting December 5th. MPS is going to have that online kickoff event where we can learn more. And then at that point, I believe they said they will update the website to reflect school requests for 2021, 2022. I feel like, I know it's been a little bit confusing up till this point because their website is still all of the information for this year. So a lot of people are not finding the information they're searching for. So hopefully that will become a lot easier to access on the 5th. And that again is going to be recorded. So you can go to the MPS homepage and access the link or access the recording after the fact. But the thing is, I believe we, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But if you are not assigned to Bancroft, as the school placement information comes out over the next couple days, there is an option to still request Bancroft. The only thing is we have to provide our own transportation if we do that. So unfortunately, that means I think a lot of the families who are coming from other areas of the city who can't provide their own transportation will probably not be able to take advantage of that, which is disappointing because I think like it's probably more privileged families who are going to be able to avoid the effects of the CDD that they're not happy about. But I think CDD is where it is at this point. So those are the changes. Diego, I'm hoping that you maybe have a little bit more insight just because parents don't have a ton of information at this point. And can I turn it over to you to just tell us what you know? And then I have some questions that are Bancroft specific.
Oh, that's a loaded question or a loaded segue.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't have a ton of more information. I do know that parents should have already received some sort of notification, whether it was an email or a phone call or a text of what their assigned school is for 21-22. Their assigned school being their community school. That their attendance falls in within that zone. I think that in the letter, they also listed the number of or the possible magnets that you can choose from and a little bit of description around each one of those. I think the $1 million question has been asked is what is the enrollment cap at Bancroft? And I still don't have an answer for that question. I think if you look at, again, the forward-facing CDD school at a glance, it shows Bancroft at a projected enrollment of 381. Which is a significant drop from the 515, which we currently have right now during distance learning. And so I don't know what that enrollment cap will be, because the other caveat for potentially getting into Bancroft is providing your own transportation, and then there being space at the grade level in which your student is in. And I did go, and I just want to make sure families are aware too. I had a couple call today and say, oh, I requested Bancroft, but they went on the website today, and it was for for this current school year. And so I just want to make sure, like you said, Mandy, that it doesn't necessarily go live until, and I think now there's a pop-up that says, this is for this year, it'll come now live on December 5th. I believe I don't see the placement priorities either up on the website anymore.
I saw that they took that down this afternoon.
Because I know it listed as like English language learner, homeless and highly mobile. And I think there were some categories there that were trying to be fulfilled. But so I do have, some limited information. I do have a list of every current Bancroft student's school of where they're assigned to. So I know who my incoming and outgoing students potentially are. I've had a few of the incoming families reach out to me already and saying, hey, we'd love to learn more about Bancroft. We're assigned to your school. What can you tell us? And so I've emailed them, talked with them, pointed to the website. We are going to have some virtual open houses in January, just to kind of welcome some families, or just, I don't want to say market, but try and sell our programming to people. So they either, choose to stay at Bancroft and not go to one of the magnets. I don't know if I necessarily need to market to my families that are already here, but I will. And I want everybody, if I had the opportunity to have everybody stay, I would. Unfortunately, it's not up to the principal of the school to say who can come to the school. That's all through the placement center and all through the placement priorities. And so if I had it my way, if you wanted to stay here, I'd say, yep, we got a space. But I know that the kickoff is on the 5th. And it runs through the 7th. And then I believe about 2 weeks after that, 3 weeks after that is when the letters come out saying where you're going to be placed for the 21-22 school year.
Yeah, February 7th, right?
That's when it ends. Yep.
Yep.
So if I could, I'm going to jump on real quick here. In part, I don't really know if what I've got is any more or any less, but for the sake of the recording, I didn't want to bring it up. I don't really think it's a secret to most folks. I'm one of those families who has been slated to leave Bancroft, who's outside of the new attendance zone, and I'm sort of trying to figure out an effort to stay. So there are many like me. So so the information that went out in a note, one of the pieces of information that I sort of just cut and paste here and replaced for privacy's sake. The thing that I'm hinging on is this: requests received by this date will be placed randomly within priority levels according to request preferences. So I called up the district a couple of weeks ago, back when this first sort of was raised, and just to make sure that I have it clear, it's a lottery system. If you apply to go to a school that you have not been assigned to, including the magnets, it's a lottery system that your name is tossed into, and you are picked randomly. That's the lottery part. And then they look at the set of priorities to figure out whether or not you can get to your choice school. Now, in the old system, it was a first choice, second choice. They don't say whether or not you get two choices in this new system. Or whether or not they just try to see if you fit in your first, or they leave you in your attendance zone. So that's a question that I've posed and haven't received information back on. But in the write up that they've said, they as well as a phone call, it's confirmed. It's a lottery system based on the priorities. It's interesting, Andy, that you say they pulled the priorities, because I was searching for it as well. I saw it disappear and then I saw it come back. So that's what these are. Let's get out of this.
Oh, thanks for finding it though, because I actually wanted to copy that for the meeting, and I went to the website and it had disappeared.
So it's interesting. So the question is, how much will this change? So for parents that are in the same boat as I am, who would like to stay at Bancroft, 12:01 a.m. on December 5th, my son's name is going in that lottery. And then I got to figure out, do I fit any of these? And then the follow-up question, and this is another one to be asked, and maybe folks here who've had multiple kids in the older grades already, if you move into zone, you get assigned somewhere and then you move into zone, are you stuck out of zone at that point? This is even in the old system. Let's say you got assigned, but over summer family moves. Can they move to the school of that zone? But I did just want to put it out there for parents, particularly for the sake of the recording. The process, as I understand it, and anyone correct me, is between December 5th and February 7th, you get your name in that lottery list with your first choice for the school that you want to go to. And the hope is that, the school is not that Bancroft isn't oversubscribed. And based on that letter, that it's not oversubscribed, and the whole integration goals either. And this is the part that sort of gets me, and whether it's not minority enough or too minority, which is kind of the way they measured it. That at 87% or 77%, whatever that was. And then there's a whole sibling preference, which I've already said doesn't help me because I've got the one child, unless Laura and I get busy. But so that's kind of what we've got, what we're facing for those of us that want to stay at Bancroft. Does anyone know who David Winley is? All right, I'm going to leave him there.
I think Paul, you're asking really, really good questions. It's not a true lottery because it's a weighted lottery based on those priorities of integration and then sibling preference. And like Diego said, we don't have their magic formula. So it is up to them. It's like Diego can't decide. Wish he could, because then he'd let us all in.
Diego, are you able to tell us, you said you had a list of everybody leaving and coming in. How many students is that? Trying to know what's my likelihood here.
Yeah, so according to the spreadsheets that I was given, and I'm not going to include my fifth graders because they would leave regardless, but we do have about 300 students that were assigned to a different school for next year. And it's not funny, but we have students going to 24 different schools. And so that's how much we just capture from around the city. And so our students will be dispersed, those 300 kids will be dispersed to 24 different schools. And then we have about 120, 125 coming in from other schools. Mostly Northrop, because that's, I mean, our school is right in their attendance zone. And so now that the new boundaries are drawn, I mean, kids that live across the street from Bancroft are zoned to Northrop currently. And so now they would be coming to our school. And so we're kind of like Northrop North is going to be next year.
And how many staying, Diego?
About 100. Maybe more than that, because we're up at close to 300. So I'd say about 175 kids.
Well, you were saying, Diego, we're at 515 right now, but minus the fifth grade. So, okay, so 175 plus the 125, that puts us in under the estimated.
Yep, but it doesn't, yes. So that was the math I was trying to do VPAL too, but it doesn't include the incoming kindergartners.
Okay.
Which would be at about, I would say, you know, depending on our numbers, I mean, our current class is 100, our last two classes have been 100 kids.
Because the 125 doesn't include that, right?
Right. Because I don't know what kindergartners I've chosen Bancroft yet or are coming to Bancroft. So if I may, I'm just sort of brainstorming this a little bit. I don't know how much more time you want to spend on this, Mandy, but it seems to me that the unknown is what will our cap be. And I wonder about our ability from the parent standpoint. I'm certainly not going to put this on admin, but to lobby for a higher cap and to sort of make it known to the district that there's a lot of love for Bancroft, and there's no need for them to arbitrarily give Bancroft a 400-person cap when the school itself can physically manage 500. Why hobble the school when it physically can manage 500? And I think last year you even managed 560, didn't you, Diego? I mean, It was bursting at the seams. But the point is, the school has the physical capacity for it. Unless they start shedding staff, it certainly has the teaching staff for it. Would it behoove us to make clear as a PTO to the district that they shouldn't just arbitrarily knock us back to 400, and then that gives folks like Alicia and I some hope that we don't buying houses.
I wonder if you were going to make that argument. I think it's a long shot, but I think you'd have better success if you made clear you wanted an exemption for like grandfathering, basically, only because they're not going to want to. If they're putting the cap low, it's because they're trying to accomplish the distribution goals that they're trying to do. And I don't think they want to disrupt that for the whole, for anybody. But if they, it seems reasonable to me to argue that it's no kind of no harm, no foul, and maybe keep some families, happy if they would let families that are already coming in and still doing so at their own transportation or whatever to exceed that cap that way.
Yeah, I think that certainly could be it. I certainly wasn't looking toward trying to do a district-wide impact and really just kind of localize it to Bancroft, because I feel like that's where more success is possible. And I certainly get it that they're trying to do a mix. And my son moving over to Northrop, certainly it's going to be a flip of the demographics in terms of just the numbers. So like that part I certainly get. I guess the question becomes, do you go big or do you go targeted and small, right? But that's certainly, I mean, we've got 2 months.
Diego, is there for certain a cap that you know of? Or I know you don't know a specific number, but is there a cap for certain? Because in the past, Minneapolis hasn't really, sort of like wherever there's space, there's space.
Yep, I really don't know, Sam. I'm being completely honest with that. I don't know what the cap is. Like I said, our projection is 380. And I think when you start looking at the numbers, it gets pretty close to that with the incoming and outgoing and then the potential number of kindergartners. But that's also then assuming that the students, because I know a couple of colleagues who have children that go to an immersion a magnet program, that they were already, not already, but assigned to continue in that magnet. And so that depends on if those kids are going to continue in those magnets or if they're going to choose their community schools. And so that could definitely throw some changes into that planning. As always, our budgets are based on projected enrollment. And so I think there may be some room for staffing adjustments come the fall, depending on what enrollments actually look like. I mean, this is in a sense, I don't want to call it a complete apple cart upset, but it kind of is, and it's based on a lot of projections and conjecture. And I think Sarah's right that they want to make sure that, the magnets are filled and that students are going to their community school to make sure that, in a sense, the CDD gets off to the start that was envisioned for it. But yeah, I don't, long answer, but I don't know a number for an enrollment cap, but I do know that our budgets are based on that. And so if they're saying we're going to have 400 kids, then, right now we have the staff for 515 kids, 525 kids.
And when is that budget projection like locked in relation? Is it now in relation to the projection, or is it after school choice?
So in previous years, it has not been it has come before school choice was over. And so the projections were made on the October 1 enrollments and then the January 1 enrollments, like an average of those two. But again, it's hard to say because, right now we're at 515 and we were at 520 in October, but our complete student body is shifting and changing. And so that's, I don't think we'll be projected for 525 kids with our budget. And then budgets, last year we got ours on Valentine's Day, which was a great present. And this year it's going to be around the same timing. They're trying to keep the same timeline to make sure that we also are doing interview and select and allowing teachers from some schools that are impacted even greater, going from a K-8 to just a middle school or a K-8 to just a K-5. So there's gonna be a lot of shifting with staff too. So we need to make sure that staffing timeline, that there's enough allowance for that to make sure teachers are finding places and jobs and schools are fully staffed before we go into the summer.
Mandy, you were raising your hand.
I think my question was answered. I was interested in asking about, the staffing changes and what that would mean. Like if we end up with our projected enrollment and not more than that, like, what does that mean for staff? Like how many people does that mean we lose? Like how many educators? Like, do we have an idea? Like what kind of, like,
I mean, I can make guesses. I don't want to send, Sam is
I don't want you to, like,
still here. I don't want to send people into a panic, but I mean, if you're subtracting 525 to 380, that's, 140 like kids.
Really
and, that's basically a whole grade level. So you're looking at, or a grade level and a half. So you're looking at 4 to 6 teachers potentially. I do know that according to the projections, our free and reduced is going down as well. So that means compensatory ed will go down, and a number of our AEs, associate educators, are funded through compensatory ed. A number of our interventionists that are outside of the classroom, licensed staff, are funded through that. And so, it could have a pretty significant impact on our staffing if the projection is what we end up with.
Right.
And of the students who are leaving, that I know we're losing a significant number of students of color, Black and Indigenous students.
Mm-hmm.
And does that pretty much match up with the students that are leaving Bancroft?
It's pretty close, yep. And I mean, in my spreadsheet, I can sort it through by demographics. I can sort it by grade level, student name, address, so you can see what siblings and families are going. So yeah, I can definitely access all of that information and data.
How, Sarah, I'm going to piggyback an idea off of your letter writing thing, and tell me what you think about this. So, from a PTO standpoint, the actions that we move forward with aren't really just to keep my son in school. It's really to provide clarity to parents that are in the school choice process. I wonder if we could sort of piggyback this notion, Sarah, this letter writing thing, and maybe we can move it to December 14 as a bigger discussion. But we need to communicate to parents, school choice is here. If you've been moved and you're fine, you don't have to take action. But if you're not understanding what's happening, here's what's happening. Like just kind of like a communication message for the parents on our own list. And what if we anchored it to a get to know your student who's in your colleague, your students are in your classes now, and start writing letters to each other now, because that student will not be in your class come next year. And maybe you make friends across the schools. I mean, I'm just sort of spitballing this out now, but would that be a way of encouraging the letter writing notion that Sarah was sort of after? Well, because essentially 2/3 of the first grade class, if we do our math right, is going to end up at 24 other schools, right? So, in first grade, they're already doing this thing where they're breaking up the reading groups and they're mixing them up. So my son's getting to see new students, and so I'm trying to get him to remember kids' faces who he's never met before, right? And I love that. That's great. And I think if it was the same concept but with Sarah's letter writing thing, but our messaging is tied to school choice, so that the parents are becoming involved, and it becomes a way of reaching out to parents, saying that there's school choice coming up. Students are going to be leaving our school. And then give the hopefulness of it, rather than feel like we're getting kind of messed with. The hopefulness of it is have your kids reach out to their classmates and write those letters. I don't know. That was just sort of coming through in this discussion, because it shouldn't really be a hopeless type of thing. This whole activity was meant to improve the district, and so we just need to do some messaging around it, just so that our constituency is well served.
I don't own the idea, so I'm not opposed to it or anything as an idea. I do think maybe that should maybe go through the teachers. Just I wouldn't want to get ahead of parents and how they're talking to their kids about what's going on, and so maybe defer to them. But if that feels like a good fit, I do want to ask, and I'm sorry if I missed this. I've been in and out. My kid has a different class at this time, but whether we should do, like, is there a way to do postcards that is useful, Diego, this year, in terms of, like you said, some families are reaching out positively, but I know there was a lot of fear around, hopefully Bancroft's reputation precedes it, but I know there was a lot of fear about, oh, families are going to leave the district, because if they have to change schools, and their other families are having to leave schools that are beloved to them. And so now that we have an attendance boundary, can we, use very similar, the same, we'd have to maybe change the word magnet or something, but use the postcard from last year and send that in the area. I know this is not in the interest of those of you who are getting kicked out and hoping to stay in, and I do want you to be able to do that, but we can't also sacrifice the entire, figure out like how we can, I don't know what to do, but I do wonder about if you feel, Diego, that that you want that kind of outreach, or just want to see how it plays out?
No, I mean, I think it's a great idea because I do feel, I mean, I'm sure there's parents at Northrop that are possibly having the same conversation. And so how do I get them to want to be at my school or our school and really sell the fact that Bancroft is a great, I don't want to call it alternative, but it's another great MPS school that families can, feel a part of and be welcomed into our community. So I think a postcard would be a great idea. I want to connect with Linda too as the family liaison to find out what kind of resources we have from the district to do that. We do have tentatively scheduled some virtual open houses, and one of the things Brianna and I were talking about today is kind of catering those similarly to how we would with like the kindergarten open house that we had virtually in the spring, and Sam was there, and so how do we provide families with information about our programming, about IB, about Bancroft, about the school hours, about Minneapolis Kids, about the after school programming, some of the other cool things that we have to offer at our school, and then open it up to like a Q&A, and then develop an FAQ that we put up on our webpage for, the new incoming Bancroft families. And so that's something that I think we can put together. And I see a postcard could definitely be, I know the families that are coming and I know their addresses, so why not send them a postcard, with a personalized note, maybe from a PTO member or a student or a teacher. I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I love that. And actually really segues into what I wanted to ask was that previously you had talked about the PTO having some involvement in sort of advertising Bancroft or in these virtual open houses. So I wanted to ask just what you saw or what you thought like our role could be. I love the idea of like postcards and trying to personalize them and, either get students or PTO members or other parents involved in trying to, advertise Bancroft. Are there any other things that you think would be helpful during this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I appreciate the question. I think something similar to what we did today with a teacher panel, we could do with a parent panel, and it's something that we could leave time in for during the open houses, and have some PTO parents or any other parents that would want to share their experiences at Bancroft, why they chose Bancroft, why they love to stay at Bancroft, and just in a sense sell the school to other families, because I think I can stand in front of a crowd and tell them how great my school is, but I think it's just definitely the word of mouth advertising is a lot better coming from someone who's experienced it from the parent end and shares the same kind of experiences that another parent would. And so I think that would be something that is helpful. I also want to lean on VPaul a little bit to help us with some video editing and maybe a photo montage of a picture tour of our inside of our school and classrooms. And maybe just a quick welcome message. We have a really good, it's old, but a really good professionally done video that we can put on our website too about our school. I think a lot of the pieces have stayed the same, a lot of the heart and soul of Bancroft. It's a different principal and a different assistant principal. But I think the message is still valid to what we're trying to do at our school. But I just think a video photo tour or just a montage of our spaces. We try to do something similar for kindergarten, and we had one of our stuffed bulldogs like washing their hands for lunch and in the art room and in the music room. And I give Laura all the credit and the kindergarten team all the credit. It was great for what it was. And so I think something along those lines, but a little more professional would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'd be down for helping out with something. I've got a 360 cam, so I think that'd be something as well.
I think Linda was trying to jump in, maybe. I don't know.
I have three. I told you 2 fingers. I have 3 things. Well, so I just checked the video is on the website, but apparently it's been marked to private. The old video. I'm going to check into that tomorrow.
Did you get our new website link today? It's live on there.
Yeah, I did, but it's been on our old website, and for some reason it's been marked to private now. What were the other things? Sam, while you're here. So, actually, I'm gonna go back to our parents. We sent out an email from Bancroft last week about the CDD transition and the letter coming. Was that understandable to everybody? It's probably not totally satisfactory, but if that was understandable. Okay. And then So Sam, I don't know, especially for kindergarten, it's maybe not as big of a deal, but for like maybe older grades, I was just thinking Diego tomorrow at ILT to help because I mean, some students who've been at Bancroft all these years, a couple years, 3-4 years, and then they're going to be assigned to a different school next year. There's going to be a lot of feelings, and I don't know. We should be providing some things for the teachers, I think, to help answer some questions and deal with that. But I mean, that's something I just thought of that now to check in with teachers tomorrow.
I think that's a really good point, Linda. And kindergarten doesn't necessarily get the same kid feelings probably that until maybe they like it hits them and their families are talking about it, but the parents are going to have feelings. I have feelings. I mean, like big feelings. I don't none of my kids are leaving. So I'm going to go into this the way that I would just about anything in my life. I try to see the good. And I will say the last time I looked at the CDD, they under-enrolled all the schools basically with the plan. So I'm going to hope that with our physical space available, that there will be room for who wants to stay and who wants to come, because I don't want anyone to leave who doesn't want to leave. So I'm putting that into the universe, but I think we should have talking points for families, kids and parents, and maybe teachers too, who are a little bit attached.
Yeah, and I just want to, just on that point, I ran into a Bancroft parent at the park today, and he said she was overhearing music class with Miss Mathis and her processing with a lot of the kids that were having feelings, third graders. And she said she did a really wonderful job. So I just wanted to pass that along. That they just had some space to process, but that there were a lot of kids were feeling really like nervous and scared. And I think, I think as a parent and, I think our kids are going through a lot right now with the transition with distance learning, and then to go back to a building that's new or unfamiliar and like a new community. I mean, it's about this community that I think we built at Bancroft and that Bancroft has done really well. And we're part of that. And I think to lose that in the midst of, all the kind of instability that we've had in this past year feels like a lot. So yeah, it's
I was just going to pop this in the chat, but actually, Paul, I don't know, the chat seems locked. Maybe it's a virtue of locking down the meeting. I can only message you directly. But so just to say on the postcard, I think this is the timeline. We tried to get this out last year because just school choice is coming up. And I remember it getting worked on while I was out of town, like late December. So since we have it I don't know who has the most recent, has the final files. And if there's anything I can do, because I don't want to put that, you have it, Linda. I don't want to put that on teacher or on parents who are not necessarily, your families aren't necessarily being able to stay. And if there's something I can do to try and tweak those, I don't know if I have the right software, depending on what it's in, but to do any tweaks that are needed for this year. And seems like it shouldn't be as complicated this year because we're almost got it down. So if we just make sure it's ready to go, and then you guys have the addresses you want to send it to, and we just pay for it, I think is how it went.
I was thinking we can't reuse the ones. Do they have the wrong school year on them?
Oh, like the physical.
Like
we
have
have
extra? Of this much.
I'm gonna see what's on them. I think I've got it right here.
Okay, I don't remember what's on them, if they're usable or not. I was like, could we even just stick a sticker over them?
It's not the same postcard that teachers sent to kids over the summer, is it?
No.
No,
it's the one we sent in
the
December
PTO.
for school, or January for school choice.
Is it this one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. Maybe we could hand cross out magnet or something.
Right.
No, I think I have like working versions of those that I can update. Or else
school choice deadline's the same this year. So
contact him.
There's not any information that's not accurate aside from scheduling a tour. It says due February 7th for school choice. So it worked out.
Yeah, so that could work. That's good. Last year, I think we didn't make the beginning of the school choice deadline, so we didn't mention that. But yeah, so that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Just
We've got
looking
plenty.
Can
This is really far in the future, and I know we are over time, but I was just thinking, like, for those kids who are moving on, like maybe like some kind of event, you know, like graduation style, just something special to mark their transition, because there's so many kids from different grades that are going to be going through that transition together and going off to different places. So just like something special to kind of mark that, and like, you know, send them off into the world like with a, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Just like with our good wishes and stuff.
You know, I just, while we're in the fields, I just wanted to share, over the Thanksgiving weekend, someone asked my son, once COVID is done, what's the first thing you want to do? And we were expecting Mall of America or something like that, but he goes, first thing I want to do is I want to go see my classroom. He's really excited to see Miss Tiffany's classroom. And then the second thing he wants to do is stand next to somebody.
That's like so sweet and sad. I'm really actually tearing up now. So it is 7:12. Does anyone have anything else that they want to squeeze in? Or I think there will be more discussion at Coffee, Tea, and IB. And then we have more information from MPS coming on the 5th. And then we have another PTO meeting on the 14th where hopefully we'll have a lot more information to disseminate. So anything else?
Mandy, would you mind sharing that postcard? I guess I don't recall it or remember it. And I don't know if Linda has a copy. I would love to see it.
You want me to bring it to school? I think Jason's going to go to the school.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Tomorrow or something. So yeah, we'll drop some off.
Okay.
I was going to go on Friday. Is that okay?
I'll still be there.
Okay. See you Friday.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it so much. I feel like we packed in a lot with that meeting. But we will see you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for the discussion.
Bye.